Ever been humiliated in your own house? At your own dinner table? By someone you once into your family with open arms? Well, that was the night I learned that respect can be bought cheap, and sometimes the bill's up decades later. It was my 72nd day. My daughter Emily had insisted on hosting her. Her husband, Brian, you know, the type who wears loafers with no socks and he invented startups, was only smug that evening. In sips of wine and passive aggression, he looked me dead in the eye and ups, must be rough living on Social Security. Don't worry, we'll take care of you when you can't afford gas for that old truck. Around the table. Mine included, but was hollow, forced. My daughter gave me that nervous glance, the one that says, ignore him, Dad. I don't forget insults. Especially not when they come wrapped in a smile and serve dessert. He thought I was broke. He thought I was irrelevant. But he had no idea what I had up my sleeve. Let me tell you something. There are two kinds of old men. The ones who sit on porches complaining about their knees. The ones who play chess while everyone else is stuck on checkers. They may not look like much. I wear the same 3 flannel shirts. I fix my sink. And yes, I drive a '98 Ford that feels like it's afraid of itself. I also spent 40 years building up a small company from dirt to diamonds. When I sold it at 67, I didn't spend a dime. I invested. Bonds, real estate, few tech stocks my buddy Jerry swore by. Boring stuff. It added up. Quietly. And unlike Brian, I posted about it online. When he mocked me that night, what he didn't know was that I had more cash sitting in bonds than he had in his so-called bridge synergy ventures. I went home, poured myself a bourbon, and thought long and revenge isn't about rage. It's about patience. Brian was about to learn that old dogs don't learn new tricks, invent them. Next week, I started sniffing around. Brian always bragged about being a business, but I noticed he never actually his company did. Some kind of crypto advisor software tool? If I know. I found out enough to know this. He was bridging money. Turns out, the fancy office in downtown Austin's rented. He had a few angel investors, one of whom happened to be my old friend Rotary Club. Small world. Brian had no idea that the man who once judged his college team was now reporting back to me. He's but reckless, Jerry said. Keeps pitching new ideas without delivering. His rate is terrifying. I smiled. Because this wasn't just business now. This was personal. I was going to own him. The beauty of tech startups is that they fail. When they do, their bones are cheap. I formed a small shell company, Liquid Holdings, harmless sounding, and I started buying. Vendors? I bought them. Office lease? I made a call. Their investors? Most were happy to sell their at a loss. I paid cash. All under the all legal. And then came the kicker, the acquisition of his codebase. His leads behind on rent. Offered me the prototype half of what Brian owed him. In 3 owned 68% of his business. Brian had no idea. Not until the board meeting. I wore a suit. First time in years. He didn't even recognize me when I stepped to the elevator. And thought I was just tagging along. When the meeting started, the board chair said, let's begin by our new majority stakeholder. Mr. Wren turned white. I stood, looked him in the eye. Broke, huh? Interesting of words for a man about to get bought. Glorious, satisfying silence. I didn't even raise my voice. Didn't need to. Just handed over the papers. Watched him. Emily gasped. What are you doing? That was just the beginning. Emily didn't speak to me for 3 days. A word. A text. Not even one of her polite emojis she uses when she's trying not to explode. When she finally showed up at my door, she didn't knock. Barged in like she did when she was 10 mad about a bedtime. You humiliated him, Dad. In front of the whole board. Posed him. There's a difference. She paced the living room, arms folded tight. You think this is going to fix anything? You think powers are how family works? He made it personal first. He mocked me, treated me like dead weight. I didn't attempt. I bought him. Her face said it all. Disgust, confusion, and maybe, just maybe, a little awe. I married him, not you. You just ended my life. If your life was ruined by maybe it needed fixing. He left. I watched her drive away. My heart, just a little. Winning isn't always sweet. Turns out, Emily known more than she let on, and had drained their savings. Maxed out credit cards to keep the company afloat. Told her it was temporary. She believed him. For years, standing in the wreckage of his pride, she began seeing things differently. I didn't have to say anything. He came to me, he whispered one night, sitting across from me at the kitchen table. Did you really buy everything? Even the patents, every line of code, every chair in that office, and the potted plants. He laughed. It was tired, bitter, but real. He said he was building something for us. He never built anything with me. You at least built something for us. I reached across the table. You still have time to choose what you want to stand on. It's ego or your future. That's when she asked me the one question I didn't expect. Can you teach me how you did it? Emily was like watching fire learn to us. I showed her the books, the bonds, the documents. But then she asked something dangerous. Why didn't you ever tell me about the money, Dad? I thought you were broke. I sighed. Because I was once dirt poor. Grew up with nothing. I watched people treat my father like shh because he couldn't read. I swore I'd never give anyone that power over me. So I learned to hide it. He leaned in. That's why you let him mock you? To see what he'd reveal. I nodded. You learn more from how people treat you when they think you're powerless than when they think you're rich. One night, I received a letter. No return address. Just a routing number, a key, and a note. For its time to protect her. It was from my late wife. Years ago, before she passed, she had opened an offshore account in Emily's name. Backup plan. Turns out, she never trusted Brian either. It held more than just cash. It had deeds, contracts, and old family jewelry that Brian tried to sell once and got caught. She cried when she saw it. Mom knew. Mothers always know. I called Brian in for one last meeting. It was just the two of us. No lawyers. No word. I'm offering you a deal, I said. You walk away. I give you a severance. You hand over your shares, and I'll make sure that never hears a word. He laughed. Bitter. Broken. You think you won, old man? I leaned in. No, Brian. I know I did. Because this wasn't about money. This was about dignity. And you lost yours the day you opened your mouth at my birthday dinner. He signed. He left. And I watched the door close on the worst chapter of Emily's life. It took Emily a few weeks to come out of the emotional rubble. She stopped wearing makeup. Stopped pretending everything was perfect. We spent long days going over the company files together. She sat beside me at the dining table, her laptop glowing, her coffee always half full. She had questions about balance sheets, profit margins, silent partnerships. I answered every one, patiently, like I used to help her with algebra when she was 13. Why are you doing this for me, Dad? After everything. Because you're still my daughter, and I'd rather rebuild with you than watch you fall with him. One night, she brought me a folder. A business plan. Her own. Let's build something better, she said. That was the proudest moment of my life. Gossip spreads fast in retirement neighborhoods. The moment old Martha from across the street saw the new Range Rover in my driveway, her binoculars probably steamed up. Richard, are you involved in something criminal? She asked at Bridge Club. Only if buying your son-in-law's collapsing ego counts, I said with a wink. Word got around. Brian had been ousted. Emily was now running the business. I was consulting. Some praised me. Others warned me not to meddle. But one thing was clear. No one saw me as the broke old man anymore. And I wasn't just proving a point. I was reshaping my legacy. Just when I thought we were in the clear, Brian pulled a last stunt. He filed a lawsuit. Claimed coercion. Emotional manipulation. That the buyout had been under duress. His lawyer sent a letter with more bark than bite. Emily cried when she read it. Why can't he just move on? Because losers like Brian can't stand losing to people they once looked down on. I had kept records, documents, witness statements, even a video of the board meeting. My lawyer laughed. We'll bury him. Professionally, not literally, unless you want the extra service. We filed a counterclaim for defamation and breach of contract. Brian disappeared. Again. 6 months later, Emily was featured in a business magazine. From rock bottom to CEO, Emily Thomas turns collapse into comeback. She was radiant, confident, strong. Her startup focused on something new, tech mentorship for single mothers. A mix of purpose and profit. And she was good at it. Damn good. She hired her own team, mostly women. Gave paid maternity leave. Opened an office 2 blocks from Brian's old building. And every time she introduced herself as founder and CEO, she smiled with pride. Not revenge. Not anger. Just peace. I finally see what Mom saw in you, she told me one day. Took you long enough, I joked. I didn't need to win awards. Or have my name on buildings. Just watching Emily thrive was enough. Brian never showed up again. Last I heard, he moved to Florida. Selling some kind of crypto courses online. Still chasing ghosts. But me. I wake up every day, water my garden, and check the stock ticker just to smile. The world thinks revenge is loud. But the best revenge? It's quiet. It's watching your enemy fade while you bloom. And every time I pass that old truck you once mocked, I give it a pat on the hood and whisper, still got more miles in me. Just like your old man. One warm Sunday morning, Emily knocked on my door with a look I hadn't seen since she was a teenager sneaking back in after curfew. Dad, she said, avoiding eye contact. I need to ask you something weird. She slid a document across the table. It was a proposal. A formal one. I want you to be my business partner. On paper, equity, co-founder title, everything. I raised an eyebrow. You want a 72-year-old grandpa with bad knees and worse fashion sense as your startup co-founder? She nodded. I want people to know who taught me, who built this. I didn't need the credit, but I took the pen and signed. Because some offers come wrapped in redemption. The bastard came back. A year to the day after the boardroom takedown. As if he had a calendar just for humiliation anniversaries. He walked into her new office unannounced, all tanned and plastic smiled, like some washed-up influencer. Emily, he said, like he hadn't tried to sue her. I've been thinking. Maybe we were too hasty. We built something together. Maybe we could again. She didn't flinch. Brian, I don't rebuild sandcastles. I build skyscrapers. Then I stepped out of the conference room. You lost your shot. Now get out before I call security. He looked at me. The man he once called a broke old joke. You ruined my life. No, Brian. You just finally met someone who played the game better. He left. Months passed. Emily was dating again. Not another tech bro. A quiet, kind man named Mark. Librarian, single dad, humble. I liked him instantly. One evening, over dinner, she dropped the bomb. He asked me to marry him. I said yes. I was thrilled. And I want you to walk me down the aisle. I choked on my cornbread. I thought you might want Brian to. Brian won't even be in the same state. He doesn't deserve a seat. You raised me. You stood by me. This is your honor. The ceremony was small, elegant, and when I walked her down that aisle, arm in arm, I swear I felt her mother smiling somewhere. Weeks after the wedding, Emily handed me a sealed envelope. It's from Brian, she said. Addressed to you. Inside was a letter. Sloppy handwriting. Clearly written under stress. Richard, you win. But I'm not writing for me. I'm writing about Adam, our son, your grandson. I never told Emily. I didn't think I was fit to be a dad. He's 11 now. Lives with his mother. He's smart. Looks a lot like Emily. If you ever want to meet him, reach out. Brian. I sat in silence. Emily was stunned, furious. But something deeper stirred in me. I had a grandson. I met Adam in a quiet diner outside San Antonio. He had Emily's eyes. My smile. We played chess. He beat me in 4 moves. Mom says I think too fast, he said. That's called talent. Don't waste it. I told Emily everything. And slowly, she opened her heart too. We added Adam to our trust, to our story. And one day, while finalizing some paperwork, Emily said, let's write it all down. The whole story. Not for revenge. For truth. For family. So we did. A memoir. A business blueprint. A family legacy. Titled, appropriately, The Man They Called Broke. And the best part? That book now sits on the front desk of Emily's corporate headquarters. Right beside the first check her father ever wrote. Brian tried to contest the will. He dragged my name through the mud, waving legal papers like they were swords. But I was ready, and so was Emily. We arrived at the courthouse arm in arm. The same daughter who once questioned my value now stood beside me, proud and protective. My lawyer, a shrewd woman named Carol who'd seen every dirty trick in the book, calmly filed our counterclaims and played the last ace I'd kept hidden. Brian had been embezzling from the business for years, and I had the ledger to prove it. The judge looked over the evidence and didn't need long. Case dismissed. Sanctions issued. And Brian left to pay his own legal fees. The irony didn't escape me. Brian, who'd ridiculed me, called me a nobody, and laughed at my values, was now nobody himself. Emily filed for divorce. He doesn't get to use our last name anymore, she said quietly. I didn't say anything. I just nodded, the kind of nod men give when we've fought long enough. The papers were signed. Brian left with nothing but a rented car and his Twitter rants. Emily, now sole co-owner of the company I'd purchased, rebranded it under her maiden name, Taylor's Legacy. My name. A local reporter caught wind of the story. It wasn't hard. Word spreads when a former dishwasher becomes the quiet millionaire who saved his daughter's future and exposed a corporate scam. I agreed to the interview, but only on one condition. They tell it from my point of view. Not the victim. Not the hero. Just a father. When he called me broke, I smiled. I said into the camera. Because I knew something he didn't. Money comes and goes. But respect. That's earned, not inherited. The clip went viral. 4.2 million views in a week. I even got a nickname on Reddit, the Silent Tycoon. I kind of liked it. It was time to rewrite my will. I met with Carol again and updated every line. The business shares would go to Emily. But not just her. I created a trust for single mothers, run by Emily's new foundation, using proceeds from the now thriving business. I left my house to my old army buddy whose pension had been eaten by hospital bills. I gave my vintage truck to my grandson. And I left a single envelope for Brian. Inside was a $5 Starbucks gift card and a note. Here's something to sip on while you think about what you lost. Turns out, I wasn't broke. Just patient. Now I sit on my porch each morning, coffee in hand, dog at my feet, and Emily sometimes beside me. She laughs more now. She started dating again, too. A guy from the community center. Quiet, smart, the kind of man who brings her flowers just because. Sometimes people ask if I regret not fighting back harder earlier, or if I ever think about revenge. I smile. No. Because revenge is loud. But peace. I pause, sip my coffee. Peace is when you buy the thing they thought defined you, and then give it away without looking back. Like, share, and subscribe, because sometimes the best stories are told by people who've lived enough to laugh last.